As the summer went along, we began to turn our sights to, well, what happens when the bridge is back and we get traffic? By the spring of '09, we had decided that rather than try to have events every weekend, let's focus on major festivals. The Foundation for the Business of Good really led the first effort of the Beach Glass Festival in June that surprised everybody with its success. The second year, Troy and Lori Dalrymple took it over from their store, The Beaches, which is a beach glass store, and made it even more successful. Wine and Walleye in '09 had its first, and again, very successful festival. We partnered, the Lift Bridge Association partnered with Lights on the Lake at the holiday period, and we think that's a relationship that we can grow. In fact, we're talking right now, this isn't a final deal, but we're hoping this year to have the river lighted. There's a gal who's taking on this project, and she's got permission to put lights along both sides of the river. And she's actually talking about floating a couple of barges in the river with lighted fixtures. So that could be a spectacular tie-in to Lights on the Lake.
We really feel if whatever we can do seasonally to make the area more attractive, when people are coming down, they just have a much more enjoyable experience, whether they're coming down to shop or coming down to eat at one of the restaurants.
It looks great, putting the flowers out, landscaping all around down by the riverfront.
In the last few years, I've seen Bridge Street just blossom. We have miles to go, but we've made great strides.
Really, it was our first year or so of business exceeding our expectations that inspired us to get more involved. I got 4 other guys to form a little real estate business, which we call the Bridge Street Partners, and we bought 3 buildings on Bridge Street. Other landlords shared with us the desire not just to rent the spaces to anybody that could pay the rent, but to try to find people that shared our vision, that this could really be an exciting place. We wanted to find tenants that would mainly be food-oriented. We figured that if we could get more places for people to eat and drink, it would bring traffic. But what we didn't fully appreciate is how difficult it is to find entrepreneurs who know what they're doing and can run a good operation. That was a real challenge for us.
Think you still shouldn't watch cash? You gotta watch cash. Always.
The arrival, really, of the Foundation of the Business of Good coincided at about the same time that we were forming the Lift Bridge Community Association. They were singularly responsible over the last couple of years for really putting in business and helping these businesses succeed. 4 businesses on Bridge Street, 2 of which were places to eat or drink, the Perk and Briquettes, and 2 really wonderful shops, Beaches and the Sandpiper Gallery. They help people succeed in business. They are a hands-on entity, as opposed, we as landlords simply rented them space, wished them well, hoped they would succeed, but we did not attempt to educate them in the fundamentals of the food business, what they need to know. Foundation, and Tim McCarthy is masterful at this, did exactly that.
Going through the discipline and having everybody show up to a meeting every month for the merchants as well as us takes a lot of planning and a lot of trust. We talk about our numbers in here. We talk about where we think our businesses are doing well and also where we think our businesses are not doing so well.
Revenue's great, but revenue's not going to give us the whole picture because of both from a networking standpoint, an organizational standpoint, and certainly from the perspective of having somebody with the expertise to say you're right here, you're wrong here. is so precious and fundamental to the good of our businesses and the foundation of what we're doing on the street, that I don't know where we'd be without that kind of support.
Places to eat and drink are critical if you're going to become a destination point. And I don't think that all would have happened if the foundation hadn't helped these people get started. Looking forward, we have a full plate of things, some small things and some very large things that will impact the harbor, the city, and the county. Some of the smaller things, but important, are to finish the projects that CDC has designated that they will fund. For example, we hope that next year, 2011, we will finish the project to put historic building plaques on each of the 33 buildings that were in the original historic district. Those plaques will tell the history of each building. We also have a walking tour brochure that we will be reprinting to update it with new buildings, new businesses that also tell the history. We will add bike racks. That's another project that CDC has agreed to fund. But we may wait until we know exactly where the North Shore Trail will come to Bridge Street as far as where we want to place those bike racks. A third project to complete will be to establish an interactive whiteboard in our visitor center. And that will allow anybody who comes to town, could be a local person, could be an out-of-town person, if they want to look at restaurants, they'll hit the restaurant icon and there will be a listing of restaurants. Same with places to stay, things to do, events. It'll be really a neat thing to have in our visitor center. We also will complete a graphics and signing program so that when people come into the harbor, the signing will be uniform. It'll be almost like branding the harbor. Those are some of the smaller range projects. The big ones are helping to find more good places to stay within a walking distance of the harbor, within a walking distance of the river. We think there would be people that will come in their boats and maybe would like to get off their boat for a night or two. And we know there's a pent-up demand for people coming that would like to stay for a week. And a number of the buildings on Bridge Street have sort of vacant second floors. And we'd like to try to promote having those turned into neat bed and breakfasts. The second big project is improving the access to the water, both to the river and to the lake. A visitor that comes and doesn't really know what to expect to the harbor, sees the river, sees the lake, says, geez, I'd like to experience that. There's really very little access in terms of renting boats, renting kayaks. Now that the river's cleaned up, there should be a greater potential for using the river, using the lake. We are becoming a primary place for steelhead fishing. We need to expand on that. So I think as the North Shore Trail comes, it will really expand the recreational potential, and we'd like to be a gateway for that. The biggest project would be a streetscape, which would start at the upper end of Bridge Street and come all the way down to the lift bridge.
Streetscape is pretty much a 5 to 10 year plan where you can actually visually see the types of improvements or changes you would like to make, be it curbs, lighting, sidewalks, parks, your green spaces, along with security in the area and cleaning the area up and creating more walkways or to get slips into the marina areas.
That would comprise new landscaping, the development of open spaces. One area that could be great, it's on a slope. We could have retail on the main space, we could have condominium space above the retail, and we could have parking above that. It would transform Bridge Street back and emphasize its historic past. There's also a plan by the same firm that's doing our streetscape plan. They have already presented a plan to the city on upgrading Walnut Beach, and it would make Walnut Beach, with those improvements that they have offered, it would make Walnut Beach probably the finest public beach on Lake Erie, and that would be a wonderful draw for our community. We hope, as we develop Lower Bridge Street, to keep moving westward up Bridge Street, and we also hope to help develop the east side of the river. Once you cross over the lift bridge now, there's mainly warehouses, vacant space, but the buildings along the river, they either may have to be demolished and rebuilt, but they would make wonderful restaurants, wonderful places to stay, places to shop. So that has a lot of potential on the water.
Any improvements like the bike trail that we're working with the CDC on, the lighting of the buildings, the streetscape, all of that stuff is just going to add to the amazing ambiance that's already down here. I've never been to a place like the harbor where you have wonderful little unique shops, amazing restaurants, home-cooked food, and a beautiful river and, real industry. You see the coal docks and the ships come in and the lift bridge goes up. It's just an amazing place.
I heard someone use the term Renaissance the other day, and really this area is seeing this rebirth. It's interesting to see this in our lifetime, the potential of these, these brick streets and this authentic experience that really is the Bridge Street really kind of come to fruition and see its full potential.